And we're live here, the Box to Box Radio podcast. I am Travis Carmichael. This is not the away leg, but I am hosting for the two away hosts because I'm so good I don't need home field advantage. I'm here with producer Chris. No Mason Carmichael, no Travis A-Day. They're on vacation, on wherever they are. They're lost. Doesn't matter. Producer Chris, you're here. You're dedicated. Huge shout out. I can't forget to Sincerely Yours. They've been awesome partnering with us and giving us a whole bunch of really cool music. Please check them out. Guys, please interact with us. We love to interact with fans. We want to hear your questions, your thoughts about what we're doing here at Box to Box Radio. You can get at us on Twitter at B_B_radio. You can get us on Instagram at Box to Box _radio, Facebook Box to Box Radio. And please email us if you have any questions or if you want to have a topic on the away leg. Our email is 90min@boxtoboxradio.com. We are on Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. And I just want to make it known for the record, producer Chris, Mason Carmichael, I'm sitting in your chair. There are 4 chairs at the table. There are 3 chairs, and then there's a long, comfortable bench that Mason always sits at.
Yeah.
And Mason, I just want you to know, it is comfy.
I tried stopping him, Mason.
No,
but
he didn't. He set up my mic. He knew I was going to sit here.
Yeah, I couldn't do anything about it.
I love it. No, but seriously, obviously Travis out of town with some family. Mason is still on that mission trip in Mexico. We definitely wish them, kind of safe travels, and our thoughts and prayers are with them. And we definitely want them to come back safe and keep doing what we're doing here because it's lightning in a bottle.
Yeah. If they don't bring us something back, I'm going to be very disappointed.
I'm going to be a little upset.
Yeah.
We might have
Exactly. We held it down for them.
Might have to find Mason with his salary.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Producer Chris, so much soccer has gone on since we last were on the pod. What stuck out with you? What were you watching?
We live in Austin. Right?
We do in fact
we live in Austin.
Austin area, yes.
Yeah. I came home. I was, just really beat last night, and I turned on the TV, and lo and behold, Austin Bold is playing. And I thought that was really cool. Now, I didn't get to watch the whole game just because of the time I got home, but I did get to watch about 3/4 of the game. And, man, that was fun to watch. They're talented. Like, the USL
it's a good
is
league.
not a bad league.
No, not at all.
It is not a bad league. I was impressed by the talent. It was good. The one cool thing about it was that Austin Bold was down 3-0.
Yeah, 3-0 at halftime.
Yeah. So I was like, man, my team not doing so hot. But I kicked my shoes off and 3-1. And then 3-2. And then I'm just super excited. I'm thinking to myself, Houston is about to go down. And, unfortunately they didn't. But they put up a really good fight. I was really impressed by Houston Dynamo's goals. A couple of really, really good shots. A few passes in the box. There was something cool there. But other than that, just really impressed by the game. Yeah,
obviously, Austin Bold going down to Houston Dynamo and playing down there in the 4th round of the U.S. Open Cup. Bold losing 3-2, but 100% can be proud of their performance. Houston put out a pretty good team. Houston went 3-0 up at halftime. Austin Bold came back and got 2 goals and we're pushing for the 3rd. So that's definitely a performance to be proud of.
It really is.
I mean, anytime you have to go play an MLS team at their stadium, even though it's Houston, it's not a huge away trip, you're still going to a professional club that's been established and been around and has a huge fan base. And, it's hard for some of the smaller clubs to go down there, but, credit to Austin Bold for doing that, man.
You said established. I was in my early teens when they first came around. And then Austin Aztecs were around too.
Yeah, man.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and obviously Houston Dynamo, kind of transitioning from the San Jose Earthquakes back in the day, but they've been a team that's been around the league for forever and have a really strong support, have won a few MLS Cups, and I was really pulling for Austin Bold because obviously I'm Dallas till I die. I hate the Houston Dynamo. For a fact we have the FC Dallas game on in producer Chris's kitchen. 3-0 FC Dallas playing at SMU Stadium, hosting the Oklahoma Energy. So there was a lot of 4th round Open Cup action, man. A lot of really good games that were locally. On Tuesday, you had Columbus Crew hosting the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. They beat them 1-0. The New England Revolution and the New York Red Bulls played. New England won that one 3-2. There was a red card. Till Bunbury got a brace, so that looked pretty good. Obviously, Houston beats the Bold 3-2 in Houston. St. Louis.
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
Because they really do need to be able to allow these teams to host.
Oh, we're getting there.
Yeah.
We're getting there. That's in my back pocket. We're getting there, producer Chris. St. Louis hosts the Chicago Fire. Keep that in your back pocket. And beats them 2-1. Obviously, a huge result there for St. Louis. LAFC goes on the road and absolutely smashes Real Salt Lake 3-0. San Jose Earthquakes host the Sac Republic FC. That was a great game. 2-2 late. Vaco comes on. He gets a brace. They go up 4-2. Sacramento gets one in stoppage time. They almost get one at the end. Unbelievable game there. Let's see. Today, a lot of games kicking off as well. DC United hosting the Philadelphia Union. That one is currently 0-0 in the 112th minute. That one's going in overtime. New York City FC hosted the North Carolina Railhawks, and that is 4-0. They had to come up to Yankee Stadium and play there. 4-0 NYCFC. Currently in the 90th, Cincinnati is 1-1 with Louisville City. So that's a good one to keep your eye on there. Obviously, Dallas up 3-0. Minnesota United hosting SKC up 3-1. At halftime, Orlando is beating Memphis 1-0. New Mexico United, 16 minutes into the game, at the Colorado Rapids are winning 1-0. Oh, man, that's a good one. And guess who scored it? No other than Devin Sandoval, the former Real Salt Lake player.
In the third minute.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Obviously, Real Salt Lake and Colorado Rapids, a rivalry. Devin Sandoval has been on a tear for New Mexico United. Unbelievable team.
I'm hoping New Mexico wins only because my sister-in-law is in Colorado. So she's been to a few of the Colorado games. So if I can rub it in her face, even better.
That's fantastic. And obviously, shout out to our buddy Julian Roberts, who's a huge New Mexico United fan. Hope he's able to watch this one. We have at 9:30, we have Seattle Sounders and Portland Timbers playing. That's going to be a good one. And then the other 9:30 game, this is an important one. LA Galaxy versus Orange County FC. Orange County is the only remaining amateur team in the competition in the fourth round.
That's amazing.
I mean,
that's a good thing. That's a great thing.
No, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
With Orange County, you have a lot of clubs that, try to take it seriously, and they'll go out and they'll get good coaches, and they'll kind of recruit local guys that have full-time jobs, and they'll play at a really high level. And it's the ultimate test, man. They're going to have to go out and beat Zlatan.
And I always love hearing those stories where these guys have full-time jobs, families. You hear it more so in La Liga, only because a lot of the teams in La Liga do end up kind of really shooting up the ladder in the rounds, which is really fun to hear. You don't hear it all the time, but when you hear about it, man, you just like,
it's what the tournament's made for.
Exactly, but you're just cheering and cheering and cheering for the underdog. When you see a top-tier team play a third or fourth division and it's, one more game and they're in the quarterfinals, man, you can imagine the amount of work that they put in, plus their regular jobs, just to get there. So it's good to see. It's amazing to see. I love it.
So, producer Chris, we talked about it a little bit before the show, and I have to give Taylor Twellman a shout out as he's kind of spearheading this movement. Obviously, he's been talking about it on air about kind of the location of the playoffs and the rounds and stuff. So, this is what the question I'm going to kind of pose to you is, obviously, you look at two main things are concerning to me. One is the regionalization of the tournament, which we'll get to in a little bit. Obviously, you have Seattle and Portland playing for the third time in the last 5 years in a knockout round of this competition, in the fourth round specifically. And the location of the game. So this is the interesting part. A lot of big MLS clubs that host these ties against either MLS teams or against lower level teams like a USL team or an amateur team, they don't host it at their stadium. So you're looking at FC Dallas right now. They're hosting it at SMU's complex as opposed to in Frisco. Seattle has a Riverside Stadium that seats about 5,000 people that they always host their USL matchups with. You got like New York plays at a local college stadium, which I'm not a big fan of. I think that if you're going to host a USL game, you should be required to play at your stadium. But also, furthermore, do you think that the underdogs should kind of have a chance? These USL clubs that maybe don't have a huge budget to travel should get the chance to host?
I totally agree with that. We go back to these people that work full-time jobs.
Yeah.
Some of them do still work full-time jobs or even part-time jobs just to make ends meet. The salary in USL is not even close to $100,000 for a player.
It's getting better and better
It's
every
getting
time.
better,
But
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, even your star player, even if he gets close to that, I mean, it's not enough if you are living day to day, a normal everyday life, right?
Right.
So if imagine USL guys getting paid $20,000 a year. So let's just say for grins that he's getting paid that and he has his other job. Can you imagine asking your boss, hey, by the way, I have a game this weekend and it's going to take, 4 or 5 days out of my regular work schedule. That's a lot. That's a lot to ask for these guys. The worst part is MLS is not really allowing these USL teams a shot. That's the worst part. They don't have the funds to host. And that doesn't make it any easier for these teams to grow. If they had the money, believe me, we would have a lot of teams everywhere.
Yeah, obviously it's to host these matches is a bidding process,
Yeah.
so they'll come and say, you can kind of, this is the price to host the match, and sometimes USL teams pay it, sometimes they don't, sometimes MLS teams pay it, sometimes they don't.
Houston ended up hosting.
They did.
And Austin has an amazing stadium.
So that's my thing is, I don't know about you, but I think realistically, even though it's a Wednesday night game or a Tuesday night game, that you could get, if Houston Dynamo comes in, I think you could get 6,000 to 8,000 fans.
Oh yeah, easy. Easy.
I think that's obtainable.
With Houston, you have a huge Latino community.
Yeah,
right.
absolutely.
And then on top of it, Austin, guess what? They're paying to get in.
Yeah,
right.
fair enough.
So then there's also the fact that they, you have people that have probably never enjoyed a professional game, like little ones, and guess what? Maybe they can fall in love with the game.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
So there's a lot of little things that can add up to a lot of big things.
Yeah, no, 100%. And this is where it's kind of tricky because you have a team like Orange County. That's an amateur team. I don't think they should have the right to host because they don't necessarily have unless they can come out and show we have a set stadium where, it's going to qualify with U.S. soccer where like if a star, like I would be shocked if Zlatan plays tonight, but if Zlatan plays, it could be like, okay, he's not going to a high school field where he's going to get, he's 5 feet from the fans,
Yeah.
But
well, on top of it, I'm sure that the fields are not something that he's going to want to play on either.
Right.
He's thinking, oh, if I even take a jog out there, I could twist my ankle.
Right.
Yeah,
but also you look at these USL teams like you talk about, the Bold has an unbelievable stadium. You have all these teams that have quality stadiums. Obviously New Mexico United is the only team that turned down the option to host because their stadium, they're playing a baseball field currently, so I think they wanted to travel. But hey, that's their choice. But my thing is, how much better would it be for the game? To have local fans and for the local clubs from a financial standpoint to host an MLS club. Even if it's the MLS club's second team coming in, you're still going to get tons of fans from it. You don't have to waste money on traveling that you may not have in the budget. The MLS clubs can afford traveling. And look, you have an opportunity and it's going to make, if New Mexico United beats a Colorado Rapids, but they're hosting it, it becomes a whole thing and it grows the popularity of the competition. I just think that, hosting wise, it's going to be one of those things where I think it would mean more to the not to say lower level clubs, but the lower division clubs like a USL club to host. And if that, the MLS team wants to be in the competition, they'll send the squad, they'll beat the team, they'll come home, then they'll host.
Something else to really think about. I can't go 3-4 hours away to go watch a game.
Yeah.
If I did, I would take away an entire day of my time. So for me, it would be easier for me to just drive 30, 40 minutes away.
More convenient, yeah.
Yeah. To watch a game as opposed to going all the way to Dallas, all the way to Houston, or even going to New Mexico if that was the next closest team.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier and it allows everybody to enjoy the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is a little bit counterintuitive to the next point I'm going to make, but I wanted to get your opinion briefly and then we'll move on. We got some huge stuff to talk about. But the regionalization of the game. So we talk about Portland Timbers has met Seattle Sounders 3 of the last 5 years in round 4. Obviously, you have like FC Dallas playing the Oklahoma Energy. You have, it's the LA teams playing LA teams. You have all the tournaments are regionalized. So you start at the grassroots level at amateur teams and build your way in. So I'd kind of like to see more of maybe like an FA Cup where you have a draw system, but I don't think that's feasible unless, like we say, the MLS team is required to travel because you have all these teams that if I'm the Oklahoma City Energy, I can probably afford it and we're going to send a team to go play the New York Red Bulls if we draw the New York Red Bulls. But like, is it easier for the Red Bulls to come down? Absolutely.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah. They have the funds. They can be there in a day.
Yeah.
As opposed to the USL teams having to organize. I mean, it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
But you have teams and teams of people at the top level ready to go.
Yeah.
They have it coordinated. They have teams of people, man. It is unreal. These USL teams, they're lucky if they even have a front office.
Yeah.
So it's not easy for these USL teams, and it would be great if they were just like, hey, guess what? They're coming over here. We don't have to do anything. So it would be great.
Yeah, moving on. Obviously, we love to talk about MLS and Open Cup, and Open Cup is something we haven't talked about yet. So good to spotlight that. And obviously, we wanted to highlight how proud we are of the Austin Bold being a local team. And we can't wait for Austin FC to come join the competition, and maybe they'll get to play each other. That would be sweet. I would buy a ticket.
It is regionalized.
It is regionalized,
Yeah,
so we'll see. Producer Chris, moving on. It's not like the biggest tournament in the world is happening currently, right?
What?
Yeah, right? Well, yeah. If you've been under a rock, you wouldn't know. But the Women's World Cup is happening. It's live. It's in action. And I'm going to tell you, Producer Chris, it's been legit. It's been unbelievable so far.
Good teams are showing that they're great teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, there have been some games where the underdogs have hung around and they're fighting and clawing. I think this is the best field of 24 teams that the World Cup has ever potentially produced for the women's game.
It's as exciting as the World Cup that we just previously had, where we had tons of talent.
You look
some of the best talent.
Yeah, you look at one of the best men's World Cups ever, and I would argue to say that this. Obviously a long way to go.
Even if it wasn't the best World Cup, it was the most talented.
Yeah.
Last World Cup.
Yeah, and obviously this is, and I would say this is from a talent standpoint even more so than the men's World Cup, because you have legitimately, I would say 6 teams that have a legitimate chance to win this tournament.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. But we'll dive into some of the scores here. Obviously, we're recording this on a Wednesday, so we'll talk about some scores, and we'll have a lot to update you on for Monday's pod. But we'll dive into since Monday's, so we'll start with Argentina and Japan. This result was massive. This ended 0-0. Japan, after losing the final and then failing to qualify for the next Olympic cycle, they completely ripped down their roster. Obviously, they have some of their veterans that were not selected. They have some players that are, under 5 to 10 caps under their belt are playing here. Argentina, coming off the last World Cup they played in was 2007, where they lost to Germany 11-0.
Oof.
Argentina, this is their first ever point, and when that full-time whistle hit, unbelievable. Like the players were in tears. The goalkeeper was celebrating. That's massive. And obviously the first draw of the tournament so far, which tells you a lot how entertaining it's been. But Argentina, kind of the polar opposite. You have Japan kind of in a transition year, and you have Argentina kind of at their peak.
Last year, runners-up. The year before, champions. Great stuff. Argentina, when you see, an entire crowd just go crazy, it's awesome to see.
Yeah, and it's fun to have, the local crowd. The fan. We'll talk about this more later, but the fans have been unbelievable, by the way. It's been an unbelievable atmosphere.
Wonderful. The best part is that they're selling out the stadium.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
I love it.
It's unbelievable.
I love it.
But yeah, Argentina, obviously, the home crowd kind of rallies behind the underdog, and credit for them. They spent time, they spent money, they invested in the women's game, they invested in the federation, they got a good coach, an organized system. Good for them. So we'll see. I think the true test is going to be, how good is Argentina really, or how much of a rebuild is it for Japan? I think it's a little bit of both, but we'll see in Argentina's next couple games how they do.
Yeah, Japan, like you said, they are rebuilding. They've been at the top, runners-up last year.
Yeah.
Previous year, they won it.
The last World Cup cycle, yeah.
And again, both teams in the finals were U.S. and Japan.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. No, like I said, Japan, it all happens to the great teams where they have a rebuild year. So we'll see how they do. They can still absolutely advance. For those of you who don't really know how the format works of this tournament, obviously you have 6 groups of 4. The top 2 will qualify automatically, and the other spots will be filled up by the top seeded third place teams from each group. Not from every group. Obviously, 4 of the 6 third place finishers will go in a wild card style, and then that will create the top 16. And then from there, it is a single elimination tournament. So we're really excited for that. The next game I want to talk about is Canada versus Cameroon. This Canada team ranked 5th in the world, an outside favorite to win the tournament, kind of a long shot. But producer Chris, another shutout for this Canada team. And this is a team that you look at their qualifying run, in at least 50% of their games, they receive shutouts.
that's an amazing statistic.
Isn't it?
But here's an even better one. They didn't allow a single shot on target from Cameroon.
That's insane.
Yeah. So they had a total of 4, but none of them hit target. So the keeper did nothing.
Yeah, but that just tells you how good the back line is.
Exactly.
And
but their front line, 16 shots. Granted, 4 on target, but 16 shots. That means that they were getting close to the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
That means that they were on their side of the field.
And obviously, one of the defenders scoring it was Buchanan there. 45th minute was a header off a set piece. A lot of goal scorers from this team. Guess who she plays for as a club team?
Don't tell me Lyon.
Oh, it's Lyon. Yep. It is Lyon from France. We've seen that club has been very dominant, and you can tell by the World Cup just producing some unbelievable players. This is what I'm looking forward to in the rest of this tournament for Canada. Obviously, this is a team that is going to be very difficult to score on. They're not going to concede many goals. But my question is, I wonder what the game plan is for them to score goals. Obviously, ideally, you look at, Sinclair, the captain, the center forward, to see if she can score those goals. But I'm not too convinced that they'll score enough goals to make it that far in the tournament. I am interested to see. So Sinclair's currently sitting at 181 goals. Abby Wambach all-time record, 184. So she's 4 away from breaking Abby Wambach's all-time women's goal scoring record.
Based on what we saw with Canada in this game, I believe that she might be able to get there during this World Cup. Just because she's so close. What's to say she doesn't get a penalty during the tournament? I mean, that's one right there.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantee that she's going to make it, but she has a shot right there just to inch closer to it. So I believe, based on the way that Canada played, I believe she may be able to get close to it, if not tie it.
No, absolutely. And obviously that's something we're going to be looking out for. Obviously, Christine Sinclair, one of the all-time greats, and we'll see if she can be the provider for her country and kind of take it to the next level. Next game I want to talk about is, this was a great game. This was an unbelievable game. It was Netherlands versus New Zealand. Netherlands ranked 8th in the world, New Zealand 19th. Netherlands was really talked about. Again, there were about 4 or 5 teams that had an outside shot at maybe winning it, and they were really hyped, and man, they took this one late. Roord scoring the 92nd minute. New Zealand defended really, really well. Obviously, the Dutch kept at it, and the Orange scored late, 92nd minute. And like I said, this game, there were good chances from both teams. Some really good chances from both sides, and I feel like both sides could have easily maybe scored a goal or two, but credit to the Dutch, and New Zealand was a good team, but credit to the Dutch for hanging around and keeping their kind of dreams alive.
One thing I will say about the first few days of the game is that these teams are really dominating a lot of the play. I mean, again, we go back to Canada and Cameroon. I believe it was close to 75% of the possession with Canada. Netherlands, 70%.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the statistics with France, but I believe they were just as high. So, I mean, the first few days, it's been kind of rough for a lot of the teams. A lot of them haven't really, been able to possess the ball very, very much. But I think it's going to get even more exciting as the tournament goes by once we get into the next round.
Yeah.
So,
but also, we talk about it with the Men's World Cup as well. Don't let possession stats fool you.
No.
So this is an interesting point because I think Netherlands was the better of the two teams. I think Netherlands had more chances. They had more of the ball, obviously, but New Zealand realistically had 2 or 3 chances that could have gone in.
Yes.
And they could have taken. So it's interesting to me. Obviously, the possession kind of shows you the flow and the ebb and flow of the game and who kind of, took the game over. But I love it because possession
doesn't mean
doesn't win you games necessarily. Mm-hmm. It can help you in certain situations. Sometimes it's utterly worthless depending on how you play. But it's a misleading stat.
Yeah, because I'm a Chelsea fan.
Chelsea's very possession oriented, are we now?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I know.
When they won the Champions League, who did they get past? Barcelona. They had the ball the entire game.
Yeah, they did.
And guess who won?
Yeah, and obviously that
I won't ever forget that one.
Iconic Torres goal to send them to the final, and then obviously they beat Bayern Munich with the Didier Drogba header late. Good times when things were way better for Chelsea Football Club, but we'll move on.
Yeah.
Don't want to see you cry tonight, producer Chris. Yeah. Before we move on to the next game, we've seen a lot of great haircuts throughout the World Cup.
Oh boy.
Whether it's the Ronaldo half moon, whether it's the David Beckham, kind of slicked back, braided hair. We've seen it all. I'm going to tell you right now, number 7 for the Netherlands, Van de Soden, she has hair of not only the tournament, not only of the best women's hair of all time, she, in my opinion, has the best World Cup hairstyle in the history of World Cups, men or women, because she came out in a leopard print, like low buzz cut, and it was legit. I had to do the double take, man. It was the craziest thing. And I like I said, I think that is the best haircut, men or women's, in World Cup history.
Yeah, I remember seeing this online. I was browsing the web and just popped out of nowhere. Just blew my mind.
Yeah, man.
You know, and here's the one really cool thing about it is that she is so confident in that haircut, in that style, and that color. You know, she's like, you know what? I know I look good.
Yeah. No, yeah. And obviously you have a lot of players, you know, doing some cool things with the hair dye. You got Megan Rapinoe kind of doing the pink hair. You had purple hair from one of the Canadian players. So hair's in, man. Hair and tattoos. It's the new fashion of football, and we love it. But that really made my day because she rocked it. I'm not gonna lie. That I think it's better than the old school Ronaldo half moon that he wore in the final against Germany.
I remember waking up at I think it was like 2 or 3 in the morning to go watch the game somewhere. And when they were taking the pitch, I saw that and I said, do I want that? But because it's him, you want it.
Yeah, right.
You know, but you realize, I don't know if I could pull that off.
That's so funny, man. But yeah, moving on. Obviously, some other really good games in this one. So Sweden beat Chile 2-0. This one, obviously, the other side of the U.S.'s bracket. Sweden ranked 9th in the world, probably the only team that can realistically put a challenge on winning the group for the U.S. They left it late, though. This one went about 78 minutes. Obviously, then a huge rain delay, and they had to wait, and then they came back out, and Sweden had 24 shots, 6 on target, and they scored in the 83rd and the 94th. They left it really late. I think this Chile side is about what we expected. Defends well, works very hard, but was very close to getting a point and just couldn't quite hang on.
You know, poor team. It looked, you know, as if they were holding them off the entire time.
And
though.
The weather was miserable. It was, I'm not talking like, oh, there's lightning in the area. It was pouring. It was absolutely slapping down rain. So,
yeah, they did, you know, they did their best. They tried to hold them off the best they could, but it just wasn't their day.
Yeah,
you know, at the end of the day, you know, it goes in and that's it.
So the next game, obviously, is the other game in the group, which is the focal point, which is the U.S.-Thailand. And I'm going to skip that one because we're going to come back to it because I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I'm going to save that for last. So we're going to come back.
Well, our group chat.
We're going to come back to that. Yeah, that's a thing. So moving on, Nigeria. This is obviously the second round of games here. The U.S. was the last team to take the field in the first round. So second round of games kicked off with Nigeria and South Korea playing, obviously, the other side of France's group. I was a little surprised by this. Nigeria came out and beat South Korea 2-0. In the 30th minute, Nigeria scored first, but interesting. Own goal from South Korea, but at the end, the ball trickles through, and the forward for Nigeria seems to like reach out and slap the ball, and I felt her fingertip might have just touched the ball a little bit. Had no bearing on whether the goal was going to go in or not, so I thought it was really dumb of her to try to do that, but they went to VAR, and they magically determined that her hand did not touch the ball, and they counted it as a goal. I disagree.
I would have to disagree as well.
I mean, it was the slightest of touches, but I do think it touched her hand.
Oh, yeah. But even then, I mean, it has to be so definitive. I mean,
was it clear and obvious?
Exactly. It really does have to be clear and obvious. I mean,
because the call on the field was no handball. So obviously with the VAR rules, it has to be 100% clear and obviously a mistake by the official, and they deemed it not clear and obvious, apparently.
If it touches my fingernail, really? That's what it looked like. I mean, it was that close.
I mean, it really was. And it's, but obviously if you're in Nigeria, if you're the forward, I don't even know why you put your hand there. The ball's about to roll in the back of the net, and it took a skip and it bounced. It was going in, and obviously, with the hand.
But what are we going to do?
What are we going to do? And then obviously South Korea, their luck didn't get any better. 58th minute, they scored a goal. The goalkeeper had a howler, dropped the ball, and the forward put it in the net. And as she goes to celebrate, offside flag comes up. Mm-hmm. VAR correctly held up the decision, so no goal there. And then in the 75th minute, it's early, producer Chris, but that might be my goal of the tournament so far. The Nigerian forward checks in, she turns, she picks up the ball Maradona style and just absolutely shreds about 4 people, dribbles around the goalkeeper from a tight angle down the line, curls it back in the goal. If you haven't seen the video of this goal, you got to go look it up. Nigeria, South Korea, 75th minute. It was legit. It was a great goal, man.
When somebody can do something like that, I mean, I can't do that. I would,
I've seen you do it in Sunday beer leagues, Chris.
yeah, but we're all going in slow motion. Yeah, there is no speed to it, right? But when anybody at any level can do something like that against another professional or a group of professionals, it goes to show you the kind of talent that these people have. These women are just amazing.
Yeah, unbelievable. And obviously Nigeria, not one of the favorites to win or do necessarily anything significant. But, I mean, obviously with the African nations as of late and obviously with the last World Cup, they've been a bit of a surprise on the men and the women's side, I'd say. So you never know. They could do something special. They still have, obviously they lost to Norway. They still have to play France. Maybe they should come out and surprise France, but we'll see. Speaking of that game, the other game in the group was France-Norway. I'll get to that in a second. The middle game was Germany versus Spain. Germany's second-ranked team in the world. Obviously, U.S. is the first-ranked team. Spain, 13. They've looked good. Chris, Germany plays again without their best player this time due to a broken toe injury. 1-0 Germany again. I mean, they're pretty consistent, aren't they?
Well, they really are. And back to possession. Guess who had the most possession? And
You're telling me a Spanish team didn't have more possession?
Exactly.
Wow.
Guess who lost? The Spanish team.
So, to be fair, and I will give the women a lot of credit on this for the Spanish style of play. I saw something the women do that the men would never do. This game was a lot of half chances that were missed, and a lot of Germany had chances and just kind of scuffed it to the goalkeeper, a lot of half chances. But the women were down for Spain in the last 7 minutes, and they said, put the big girl up front. Let's put it forward, put it forward, and try to go score a goal. And they almost nicked one at the end, and I have a lot of credit for that.
Spain national will never do that. Never. And like you said, credit to them, because when you need to change the way of play, they did it.
Just sometimes you have to unlock the game in a different way. Look, I have no problem with any style of play that anybody wants to play, but you have to understand that sometimes in the 85th minute, your style of play is not working, and you have to kind of flip the game, and you have to have a second way to play, an alternative way to play.
Or it's just a Hail Mary at that point.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. That's how Tottenham made a Champions League final, because they did something different, adapted to the game, and stuck something out. So, like I said, definitely a different style. Credit to them. The goal Germany scored was, I mean, to be fair, I'm German. I love Germany, but it was ugly. It was ball served in, goalkeeper kind of spews it, rebound, bodies flying everywhere, and it gets tapped in. But
there's been a few of those goals.
There's been a lot of those goals. Yeah,
there's been a few in the World Cup. So.
But I think you're starting when the field gets leveled in the women's game, because obviously the middle ground teams are becoming elite teams. The lower level teams are becoming middle ground teams, and it's getting closer and closer together for the most part. We'll talk about that in a minute. You just kind of look at it, and it's just the extra desire when the game's close, and it's like, I want that ball more than she does, so I'm going to work hard to get it in and get a little toe or a head or a shoulder, and you just never know. And I have a lot of respect for obviously Germany, but all the teams so far that have, it's just right there, and then 90th minute, and how can we get it across the line?
I've seen more youth girls fight harder than youth boys.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows here in this World Cup that they do that as well.
As a youth soccer coach, I can tell you that for a fact. That usually,
I love it.
Usually the boys want to be really fancy and do all this stuff, and the girls are like, where's the ball? I'm going to run through her. Okay,
yes.
Cool, great. And then the girl who gets run through just hops up, and she's like, all right, cool, let's keep playing soccer. It's lovely. But yeah, definitely one of those things where it's refreshing to see just a sheer emotion of, I want to score the goal. How can I get the ball in the goal? And just the effort and the desire and the will. So
it's more entertaining to watch.
Yeah,
it really is.
So speaking of effort, I think the next game really stood out to me. Obviously, that was today. We're recording on Wednesday, so not when it comes out on Friday. But Norway versus France. And I thought Norway got a bit unlucky. Norway defended like crazy people. They did super well. It was an interesting choice tactically for the French manager. She chose to put Gauvin in instead of Coscarino, and I thought Coscarino in the first game was a difference maker. She played on the right-hand side, the number 20 for France, and I thought she was clever and creative and technical, and she took players on. And obviously, she slotted Diani in the middle with Le Sommer on the left. And so Le Sommer stayed on the left, Diani slid out to the right, and Gavin came on for Cascarino. And I thought it was a dumb choice, but she scored. So in the 46th minute, right out of halftime, she scores. So what do I know about soccer? And then in the 54th minute, obviously we talk about Renard being one of the best defenders in the world, scoring 2 goals against South Korea. But she's going to want this one back. It was potentially one of the worst own goals I've ever seen. It's just a ball trickling across the 6. She goes to pass it out for a corner. Her back is facing the field to her. She's facing the goal, and she just lovely finish, passes it in the corner.
What about the penalty?
I'm getting there, producer Chris, but that's a great segue. So this is interesting.
Another one.
So
It was just like
South Africa, Spain. It was
just like
very
South Africa,
similar.
Spain, yes.
I think the challenge for South Africa, Spain was a bit more reckless because it was after the fact. This was interesting. So in the 72nd minute, the ball gets served in, and the right back for France kind of takes a touch. The center back for Norway comes in, and she comes in hard to kind of clear the ball, and she sweeps the leg there. And she goes over the top of she touches the ball. She gets the ball, but she kind of goes over the top of the ball and then just absolutely just sticks the girl from France right in the knee. And it's a cringe-worthy tackle, but it's one of the things where if you're Norway, you're hard done by because it's like, I touched the ball first. But if you're France, it's like she could have broken her leg. It was like, that kind of tackle. So obviously no call on the field, goes to VAR. They come back, penalty, yellow card. And obviously, Le Sommer just buries the penalty to win 2-1. Thoughts? Penalty? No penalty?
Here's what I think about both of these fouls.
Okay.
And they're almost identical, but the reason I say that is because both times studs were up.
That's correct.
That is my biggest problem with it. So as players, we all know how to control our feet. We really do.
Yeah.
At that level, they really know how to control their feet.
Yeah.
I just think that maybe it was an accident.
I don't think there was any intent in there.
Exactly. But at the same
But it was reckless.
But it was reckless.
And it was over. It's we see it all the time in the Premier League when the guys go in for a tackle and they come slide and they go over the top of the ball and they stomp on the ankle. Very similar challenge. She obviously didn't leave her feet, but with VAR,
she did stop. She
didn't leave her feet all the way, but it was reckless. I mean, we're in a world here with VAR where you can't challenge like that anymore. It's obviously a new realm we're living in. Obviously, the referee was Bibiana Steinhaus, who is she's a 3-time women's referee of the year. She refs the men's in Bundesliga top division. She's an unbelievable referee, and I think the decision was spot on.
It was a correct call.
Yeah, and shout out to the VAR crew. Obviously, that is a penalty decision, possible red card decision as well. So shout out to the VAR. So yeah, moving on here. This is the highlight game, and we have we got a couple things to say here. So, yes, you're hearing me correctly. The United States of America beat Thailand 13-0. Yes, 1-3-0, 13-0. That is not a football score, or American football score, sorry. That is a genuine, real football score of soccer. 13-0. United States, the first-ranked team in the world. Thailand, 34th. Let me pull out my sheet of paper and tell you the goals here. We have Alex Morgan in the 12th, the 53rd, the 74th, the 81st, and the 84th. We have Rose Lavelle in the 20th and the 56th. We have Horan in the 32nd. We have Muse in the 50th and the 54th. We have Rapinoe in the 79th. We have Mallory Pugh in the 84th. And obviously, it wouldn't be a game unless Carly Lloyd came on and got one in the 92nd minute. It was 3-0 at halftime. They put in 10 goals in the second half and made a lot of attacking subs to go at them. Let's talk about some of the records. So, biggest margin of victory in history, men or women, in a World Cup. Highest amount of goals per one side in the game, men or women, in a World Cup. Tied most all time, Alex Morgan's 5 goals in a single World Cup game. Tied with Akers with 5 goals in the 1991 game that she played in. The United States had 39 shots on goal, that's insane.
They had 40 shots, 20 on goal.
That's just staggering.
Regardless, right?
That's staggering. Also, you have a ton of different players like Rose Lavelle, and you have Mallory Pugh, who scored their first ever World Cup goals. So
650 passes. Crazy.
yeah. So here's the thing. And obviously, I want to say a few things before we get into the whole controversy. So I think, first off, this women's team is unbelievable. Don't care if they play Thailand. Don't play if they played a high school team. Doesn't matter. I think this team is legit. And the fact that they put 13 goals in on any team that has made the Women's World Cup is unbelievable. This is the highest possible level to play at. We'll get to that in a minute. Because I got some opinions on this. So,
there's a lot of opinions.
I think that Rose Lavelle and Tobin Heath are, men or women, the most creative players that the United States has in the pool. I think they're potentially even more creative than Christian Pulisic. It's just unbelievable. Some of the things they do with the ball is just insane. I mean, Tobin Heath on the right-hand side was unbelievable. She didn't score, but obviously she was very involved. Rose Lavelle in the middle was outstanding, and I think they're both just so clever and so creative. Now, producer Chris, people had a problem. Well, I'll phrase it this way. Lexi Lawless, which I rarely agree with him, but I agree with him on this because he was saying this all over the post-game stuff. There were three types of people. There were the three types of people. There was types of people that had no problem with 13 goals, no problem with celebrations. There were the type of people that had no problem with 13 goals, but problem with how they celebrated. And then there were types of people that had a problem with both the 13 goals and the celebration. Yep. Obviously, the media asking questions of, did you need to score 13 goals? Did you need to celebrate it the way you did? And before we get into it, the coach, Ellis, made a good point, and I think this is a valid point. If it were a men's game, and let's talk about this, if it was France playing, let's just say like if Scotland got into the World Cup. Let's say Scotland.
Let's go even lower.
I mean,
doesn't matter. Go lower.
Doesn't matter who it is. Let's say France came out and Mbappe scored 5 goals and France schlocked the team 13-0. Everybody in the world would have no problem and be like, wow, France is legit. So I have a massive problem with this because I think just because it's the fact that it's the women's national team and it's the women's tournament, oh man, 13, that's rough. You're too good. That's a joke. That's an absolute joke. This is the highest possible level. This is the World Cup.
This is the biggest tournament these women are going to ever get.
This is the highest possible stage you can play on, not as a soccer player, as an athlete, period. And you're telling me you're too good. You shouldn't score. And you're also telling me, when you score at the highest possible level as an athlete, you aren't allowed to celebrate after a certain amount of goals. That's a joke. You're telling Alex Morgan, hey, don't score so many. It's embarrassing. Alex Morgan's like, screw that. I'm going to go win the Golden Boot. Are you joking me? If she could have scored 20, she should have scored 20. This is a joke to me. How people can sit there and they can say, oh, well, that was disrespectful, da-da-da-da. It's more disrespectful to kind of knock the ball around and we're going to kind of not try and da-da-da-da-da. It's a joke. And if you're one of the people out there, okay, producer Chris, go on before I start.
Yeah, because you're... So... what is one thing that this is? It is a competition.
It's a sport.
It's a sport.
Competition.
Exactly.
Yeah, producer Chris.
It is not beer league. Yeah. It is not. It is. We're talking about people that are paid to do something for a living. And if I were to go to work and just do half of my job because I didn't want the guy next to me to look bad, guess what? I'd probably be the one to get fired over that guy. So it doesn't help anybody at all. Here's my biggest beef with media as a whole. This is why I don't have social media. I just don't want it. I don't care for it. I only use it for you guys and,
Thank you for
Box to Box Radio. But here's one biggest problem. One of my biggest problems. Everyone has an opinion. Even if they really do not agree with it, they're going to say it regardless.
Yep.
Internet has made all these people just really bold. Guess what? It didn't always used to be that way.
Yeah.
So you have your opinion. Guess what? There was a thrashing maybe 15 years ago. Guess what? There was a thrashing in another sport. Guess what? Somebody else got beat, but you didn't know about it. But because it's on the biggest stage in the world, you know about it. Social media knows about it.
And you know about it that instant.
Exactly. But guess what? Get over it. Tomorrow, nobody's going to be talking about this game anymore. Guess what? They're going to be talking about the new games. They're going to talk about the final. Nobody's going to talk about it except in the history books.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah. This happens all the time. As a matter of fact, my dad is from El Salvador. They got thrashed, I believe, double digits back in the day.
Just you look the other day at the U20 World Cup. You look at Norway beats Honduras and just slaps Honduras.
It's a competition.
Yeah.
It is. So here is one thing that I will say about the celebrations, though. So the goals, I could care less. It's a game. The celebrations, when is the next time you're ever going to be at a World Cup scoring a goal?
That's what I'm saying. And how many players on this roster scored their first ever World Cup goal?
Or let's just say, and God forbid this doesn't happen, they go into the next game, they scored their first goal in the first game, the second game, they get injured, they're out the rest of the tournament, they never get to play in another World Cup.
Yeah.
Guess what?
That was the moment.
That was their moment, right? So there's no way of actually knowing what's going to happen in the future. So enjoy it, regardless.
Yeah.
So,
this is what I'll say, and I agree with you. And obviously, it doesn't matter that, like a player like Mallory Pugh comes on and scores in the 11th or 12th goal in the 84th minute. It's her first World Cup goal. She's in tears after the game because she scored a World Cup goal. This is what they've been working their entire lives for at the highest possible stage, not as a soccer player, as a athlete. And you're telling, can't celebrate.
In a sold-out stadium with millions watching.
Where also, may I remind you, goal differential matters. It's the first tiebreaker on the tournament.
It is. It is. It really is.
Also, what happens if you stop at 8-0 and then Sweden comes out and beats them 9-0 and then you tie Sweden, you both beat Chile the same score, then you get second in the group. And how would that make you feel?
And I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Because everybody's going to thrash them.
Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
So, but also, and I'll say this, and then we'll kill it because it's going to get beat to death in the next couple days. But if you are one of those people that's like, oh, this was disrespectful, you are everything that's wrong with soccer as a whole and the nation, because look, it's a competition. It's the highest possible game at the highest possible level and the highest possible sport in the land. And you're talking about, well, they should have been nicer. Are you joking me? That's a joke.
Nicer is a
joke. You
joke.
shouldn't have scored 13 goals because it upset, which also, may I add, they interviewed the coach from Thailand. Hey, do you have a problem? No, I don't have a problem. They were better than us today.
You have a team that will probably never be there ever again. They're probably really happy to be there.
Yeah.
Even if they lose that bad. Again, I'll go back to my dad. He's from El Salvador. When they were outscored, they were happy just to score the one.
Yeah.
So it's a competition. You score the one, you're happy, you go home.
But look, and I think there are multiple sides to this, but I 100% agree, and I agree with Ellis. I think that obviously if it's a men's game, it's not scrutinized as much.
But had it been us, people would have been calling for heads. So
yeah, and absolutely.
So it's the same thing.
Yeah. Shout out to Jill Ellis and going for it and saying this isn't my, it quoted as saying, this isn't my job to rein in my players. This is my job to let them shine on the world stage. And obviously I think that the U.S. handled themselves appropriately after the game, consoling the players, telling them, you guys did very well and obviously like that. So I think that speaks more to me from a sportsmanship standpoint, but I'm going to say it again and again, man. In the words of Mason Carmichael, shout out to Mason Carmichael, be better. It's a sport. It's the World Cup. It's not a high school soccer game. If you can win 20-0, win 20-0. Like that's huge for me. And don't apologize for being good. Don't apologize for having fun. The game is fun. Look at all the kids playing the game. The game is fun. Celebrate, have fun, enjoy the game.
May I ask, have you ever been beaten pretty bad?
Oh God, yes.
Did you get over it?
I was pissed off.
But did you get over it?
But it made me better.
Did you get over it?
Yeah.
We move on.
Yeah.
Life moves on.
And when I get beat like that and I can turn around and give it back to somebody, you better believe.
Oh, yeah.
Man, they just beat me. So guess what? You're in trouble. You're over here. So like I said, it's one of the things where, and U.S. have a huge target on their back now. And it's one of those things where, people like to come out and attack the defending champion. And if anybody can beat the U.S. 13-0, do it. And then the U.S. will be like, man, we got beat 13-0. Holy cow. I don't think anybody can do it right now, but if they can, good for them. And you're not going to hear me crying about them celebrating and beating us like that. So shout out to the women's national team. Shout out to Alex Morgan. You're the best at what you do. Go be the best. And don't ever apologize for being the best. And don't ever apologize for having fun while you're the best. That would be my advice to anybody out there playing.
I agree. We have the best pod.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we do.
Like I said, this is a hot topic, and we want to hear what you have to say. If you think we're idiots, if you agree with us, please let us know. Also, we love the Women's World Cup. We love to cover the Women's World Cup. But at the end of the day, Mason says it all the time. We're just a bunch of dudes sitting around talking about the women's game, which I think is really cool. But at the same time, we would love kind of your opinion. Any females out there that want to come on the show or write in and give us kind of their thoughts. We would love to get your opinion. Again, you can get at us on Twitter at @B_radio, Instagram at @box2box_radio, Facebook box2box radio. Our email is 90men@box2boxradio.com. Please email us with questions, or like I said, if you just have feedback about, how we're covering the Women's World Cup or anything for that matter. We want to cover what you guys want us to talk about. And again, huge shout out to Sincerely Yours, one of the best bands in Austin, giving us some great music. This has been Travis Carmichael and producer Chris on the mic. We'll see you guys next week.